please, don't try anything that you're about to see us do at home.
Ever.
On this invigorating episode of MythBusters, we're turning the heat on 3 frosty Alaskan fables.
This is perfect for an Alaska adventure.
Adam and Jamie prove this is no country for cold men.
Oh, great. We got a Yeti outside.
As cabin fever takes its toll.
I've just had the worst night of sleep I've ever had in my life.
Tori, Grant, and Carrie see if hitting the gas might lessen the damage caused by Alaska's scariest roadkill. And we'll see if a dynamite-toting dog really could devastate a drunken duck hunter's brand new SUV.
Bye-bye!
Who are the MythBusters?
Did you know what was lurking in your basement?
Adam Savage.
I am the fire ninja!
And Jamie Heineman.
Is that beautiful or what?
Between them, more than 30 years of special effects experience.
Wow!
Joining them, Tori Belleci.
I'm in a bad pirate.
Grant Imahara. And Carrie Byron.
Do it.
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test.
That is an iceberg.
It's really cold here, but it's also really beautiful.
This place has a mythology all its own.
So we've got a full hour of Alaska myths.
Tourism types up here market the 49th state as the land of intensity. It's twice the size of Texas, so we figure it's big and intense enough to handle some high-impact myth-busting.
Like most of our favorite myths, this one involves some drunken friends and explosives. You got a group of drunken friends, one of whom's just bought a brand new SUV, and they all decide that they want to go duck hunting with their dog. Except there's nothing around them but a frozen lake, and no duck is going to land on a frozen lake, so they need to make a hole. One of them offers up a stick of dynamite with a 20-second fuse to make a big hole, and throws that stick of dynamite as hard as he can.
I can see what's coming.
The dog, following its natural impulses, chases after that stick of dynamite, catches it, starts ferrying it back to the guy under the brand new SUV.
Uh-oh.
The dog, the dynamite, and the SUV go boom! The SUV goes down to the bottom of the lake, and the guy who owned it is still making payments.
This not-so-urban myth surely stretches the bounds of human stupidity. My sympathies are all with the dog, though you must admit, it's as funny as hell. But maybe it's too funny to be true. As Jamie and Adam set off to find their frozen lake, it's worth noting that this folktale is almost as old as dynamite itself.
The first thing we obviously needed was a frozen lake, and the researchers found us one here in Alaska behind me. This snowfield you see is in fact Fisher Pond, a man-made lake, which means there are no fish for us to kill, with a nice coating of rock-hard ice on top.
The ice on the pond is too thick to dig through, and that supports the myth. But can it support a 2-ton truck?
Okay, here we go.
Orson Smith and his fancy ice drill should give us a quick answer. Fans of slapstick should appreciate the breakthrough moment.
Whoa! That's a hell of a thing.
The ice core cracks up as it's bashed loose.
Look at that.
Put back together, it's 1.5 feet thick.
So it's got vertical crystals that make it really stronger than average.
So it's safe for us to drive our SUV out here?
Yes.
Look, this story has a ton of components to it, and the first part of it is how far can you throw a stick of dynamite? Remember, kids, this isn't real dynamite. We would never throw real dynamite, and neither should you. All right, Timmy, I want you to put your chi into this thing. That's it. Go! Nice!
Jamie's toss is up over the 100-foot mark. Now it's Adam's chance to prove he's got the mojo of the throw, Joe.
Those look to be about the same.
2 hefty, manly throws with an average distance of
125 feet.
Okay, time to bring out the dog.
The myth is about a black lab that retrieves a stick of dynamite. That's what Rudy is. As you can see, he's raring to go. He really wants to retrieve that stick of dynamite.
And has no idea what he's signed up for. Now, we've got to get another myth started.
Okay, so we're in Alaska in the snow. What myth did we get?
Okay, well, this is a fairly gory myth that affects a lot of Alaskans, but not so many in California.
What's that?
It's about the moose and what happens when you hit one with your car.
This is what happens when moose meets motor car. and it's all too common here in Alaska. A low-speed collision most often ends with something bigger and heavier than a fridge coming right through your windshield. The myth says that speeding up instead of slowing down might push the unlucky beast over the car, meaning you might live to tell the tale.
Well, obviously we're not going to kill a real moose to test this myth, right?
Right. Now we're going to have to make our own moose analog.
They'll also have to wrangle a bunch of stunt cars and a safe test venue. But those are problems for tomorrow. Right now, they need to design a moose that can bounce back from something like this.
Have either of you ever seen a real moose?
No.
I don't think so.
Maybe we should try to find a real moose. That way we can make our crash test moose as close to a real one as we can.
These California kids have never seen a wild moose, but they've had a tip-off from Alaska Fish and Game to search no further than downtown Anchorage.
Whoa, that's a big one.
This 1,200-pound bull named Buzzwinkle is loitering by a 2-story bar called Bernie's Bungalow.
I'm not sure what's weirder, that the moose is in the middle of downtown at a bar, or that it's only like 1:30.
So the legs end right about where the hood is, like right where you'd hit. Look, he's going to the mall.
This mature bull looks about 6 foot tall at the shoulder, but they'll need to get much closer to take accurate measurements for a crash test moose simulate. Cue the Alaskan Wildlife Conservation Center. Out here, moose are accustomed to the ways of men. Well, most men.
Let's say we make this moose dummy out of ballistics gel. We hit that with a car, it's just gonna explode.
Yeah.
So we need to get a feeling for, what it feels like.
Well, this is definitely not a ballistics gel.
No.
Is he firm or
Yeah,
squishy?
he's pretty solid. I mean, it's like there's hardly any fat on him at all.
He's got sort of like the durometer of like rubber.
Really dense rubber.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Seems we need to make a very dense rubber replica. And that's something the team can't do here in Anchorage.
We don't even know remotely how we're going to get all of that weight up onto such spindly little legs. So it's going to take some planning, a lot of effort, and we need the tools back in San Francisco.
Coming up, the action hots up on the ice.
Holy criminy!
And Adam and Jamie go undercover to test their sanity.
This is perfect for an Alaska adventure.
Alaska really is a land of intensity. The wilderness, the wildlife, and the winters. It's those short, cold days that make this state home to an all-time classic myth.
What do we got?
Well, winters in Alaska are pretty harsh. The days are short, the nights are real long, people get snowed in with nothing to do, and supposedly they succumb to a condition known as cabin fever.
You mean they get like all loopy?
Exactly, and, well, we're gonna put it to the test.
Well, you're already a little nuts. How are we gonna tell the difference?
Actually, it turns out that there are a distinct set of symptoms to cabin fever. All we gotta do is put ourselves in the right conditions and see if we exhibit those symptoms.
Carrie delayed her flight back to sunny San Fran to act as the moderator of mental health.
I found the perfect location to test cabin fever on Jamie and Adam. Hatcher's Pass Lodge in Alaska, far from anything.
Adam and Jamie are just minutes away from a stint in solitary and a possible descent into madness.
It's tiny, it's in the middle of nowhere, and you can barely see out the windows, it's so white.
They'll spend their time just hanging out in adjacent huts. A sudden flurry of snow sets the scene.
This is perfect for an Alaska adventure. Hi, Carrie.
Hi, guys.
How are you?
You can barely see anything.
Hey.
It's about to get dark. There's a snowstorm. Are you ready to get cabin fever?
I'm ready. You ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Wait till I show you to your room.
The rooms aren't bad, but they've both been stripped back to bare essentials, as are the boys. They're well searched for anything that might divert or entertain.
So, hope you have no other contraband, you have no electronics. I need your watch as well.
I have no electronics, no reading material. That's my watch.
Both of our detainees think this will be a walk in the park. And let's remember that Jamie's already spent quality time inside a coffin.
And he's still alive.
But they're not so sure about each other.
Whether Adam is gonna deal with this real well, I don't know. Adam's a little, impulsive.
Only a friend could put it so gently.
He could just, get a bug up his butt and go nuts for all I know. I don't really know.
And right back at you from Cell Block 1, good buddy.
Oh, I think Jamie will be painting on the walls in his own blood inside of 46 hours.
Well, that should add some color. But let's spare a thought for Carrie. She has to watch these two slowly unravel.
This is my big sister surveillance system. I've got 4 cameras, one in the front and back of each cabin. I can switch between the cameras with the touch of a button and watch their every move.
Surveillance aside, Carrie's running cognitive and stress tests to get some hard data. But our volunteer voyeur has her own troubles.
I think I'm gonna go crazy before they are. Did I mention we're in the same circumstance that they are, except for I have to watch them be bored?
Jamie, at least, has a simple plan to preserve his sanity.
I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. Every day is gonna be working out until I'm exhausted, and then I'm gonna sleep.
The man with a mustache kicks off in style, but the short days and long nights might soon sap his spirit. So, who's going to crack first? Adam, Jamie, or Carrie? Sweet dreams all round.
Good night.
Carrie, Tori, and Grant are testing a myth that says speeding up your car might prevent this potential Alaskan roadkill from killing you. Back in San Francisco, Carrie's been on the net looking for inspiration. And believe it or not, she's found a thesis by a Swedish man on how to build a giant rubber moose.
That's cool.
With his permission, they modify the multi-slice design and source a small mountain of rubber.
Cool! Those are the jet cutters right there.
With an Omax water jet cutter, H2O Precision can carve our moose slices in next to no time. Tori's already had the details of our design punched into H2O's computer.
All right, here's our moose. I know it doesn't look like much of a moose, but it will. Now, what I have here are half-inch sheets of rubber. Now, we have the design of our moose in the computer in slices. And once we stack those together, we'll have the shape of a moose in rubber. This is one layer out of over 150 layers of rubber that's going to make up our moose. Now, once we stack these together in the right order and fasten it, we'll have roughly the same size, weight, and density as a real moose.
But a real fake moose needs more than sheer mass. Back at M7, Carrie adds the bones and the sinew.
This is the cable we're going to use to keep the moose together. This is going to run the length of the moose twice, and that way when the car actually hits the moose will stay flexible and bendy as if it's a real moose.
Carrie sleeves the cable in rubber tubing, and Grant's done likewise with the legs.
The deal is we want the legs, this is our moose leg, we want them to be floppy, but we also want them to be reusable once it gets hit. So the hip joint's going to be made out of steel, and that's going to connect to the cable that's inside of the moose leg. And when it gets hit, it'll go flying, and then we can set it right back up again.
Meantime, Tori's going gangbusters with his half-inch fillets.
Looks good, though. Looks like a moose.
I know, kind of.
What do you think? Lucy.
Lucy the moosey?
Yeah.
I love it.
Congratulations, Tori. It's a girl. But does she have enough junk in the trunk?
All right. So, moose is done, and it looks like it's weighing about 620 pounds, which is a good average for the type of moose that would likely get hit by a car. Now that the moose is done, we're going to see if we can make him stand up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a pair of 2x4 legs that the moose will sit on, will cradle in, so that way when the car comes crashing through, it'll knock the legs away, and then the moose will behave the way the moose will behave.
Building the frame is no big deal, but will it support the massive load we call Lucy?
Good move. Stay.
It does.
Nice. I love it. Car come through.
And it's at just the right height for her ample proportions. And like any cow to the slaughter, it's best she doesn't know her destiny.
The moose whisper. All right, let's bring those cars in.
Coming up next on MythBusters, does Jamie sleep with his beret on or off?
And Jamie and Adam unleash the hounds. Good boy. Adam and Jamie are freezing their facial hair on an icebound Alaskan lake. They're testing the myth that a committed canine could cause a hunting party to sink to a new low. And for test one, it's time to put the shaggy dog part of this story under the MythBusters microscope.
So the myth states that the guys used a 20-second fuse on their stick of dynamite. Now the question is, can a dog, from a cold start, run to 125 feet, fetch a stick of dynamite, and come on back in under 20 seconds? And that's what we're about to answer with Rudy.
Of course, for this test, they swapped the dynamite for a rubber ball. But you get the idea.
We got our starting line. We got the target pylon over there. Let's just throw the ball a few times, and I'll time it I'll bet you can throw it there. He gets it right about at that pile and it comes on back. We'll just see how long that takes.
It sounds simple, but remember that Rudy is not only skidding around on slippery ice, but it's 20 degrees below zero.
Good boy.
You'd think he'd get slower and slower, but each successive fetch and return reads the same on Adam's stopwatch, 16 seconds.
So far, the idea that the dog could actually get the stick of dynamite and bring it back is looking really good. It's totally doable as far as the myth is concerned.
This whole myth is falling nicely into place, perhaps a little too nicely. Here comes the bit where we try blasting a hole through the ice,
Thanks, guys.
sinking this car with one stick of dynamite.
So far, the Alaska myth is looking pretty good. The dog did his job real well, but now it all comes down to this. If one stick of dynamite can't sink the car, it's busted.
And now, back to the myth designed to separate Adam and Jamie from their fragile faculties. Day 2 dawns on our cabin fever test, though it should be noted that a midwinter Alaskan sunup kicks in around 10 a.m.
Good morning. It is the morning of day 2. I've had a reasonably fitful night of sleep. I had some really weird dreams. I dream I'm in a plane and it's slowly crashing down on a street in San Francisco. And I'm way up at the cockpit and I turn to everyone and I say, listen, I don't think this is a real plane crash because I happen to notice that I'm not wearing any pants. And whenever I'm not wearing any pants, it's probably a dream.
Carrie's up already, bright-eyed, keen-eared, and she's wearing pants.
It's early morning, and this is actually the first surprise, is that Jamie is still sleeping. He's an early riser. Usually he's up doing exercise and probably into the shop by 5 a.m. Adam, on the other hand, is just a beehive.
Jamie does eventually rouse himself and starts the first of his 2 tests. The cognitive test aims to see if their mental faculties decrease over time. The saliva test is a stress indicator, but to get a fair reading, you can't eat or drink beforehand.
Oh, you know what, though? I think he just took a drink of water right before he took this test.
So this and, trust me, many spit tests to come count for nothing.
Spit reading of 35. This is the morning of the second day, so apparently I'm pretty relaxed.
Shame we can't say the same for Carrie. But biometrics aren't the only indication of who is or isn't stressed and bewildered. Hap Wurlitzer owns these cabins, and he's come real close to misplacing his own marbles through many a long winter.
It happens to everybody in Alaska, including me.
What would you consider the symptoms?
Well, it's probably being on edge, irritability, angry-looking eyes, forgetfulness.
What's going on?
And sleeping extra time in the cabins.
So now we know what to look for. Jamie's already a pin-up boy for symptom number 4. Next door, Adam can't stop fidgeting.
Adam's body language at the moment shows that he's sort of antsy. Oh, he's going for the coat hanger. I knew he would make something with the coat hanger. I would totally make something with the coat hanger.
Desperate times call for desperate diversions. Adam's building a fancy desktop toy from his one potential plaything, a wire coat hanger.
I've spent some time making a little whirligig here out of one of the 2 coat hangers I found on the rack.
Meantime, the big news from Cabin 2 is that Jamie's sitting up.
I think Jamie has reached full Buddha. He's not moved in an hour.
Before day's end, both boys find time to write in their journals, then repeat their cognitive and spit tests.
123? What are you, crazy? Look at this.
Okay, just forget the stress test. What we all need here is a timeout and a nice nap. As the sun sets, it's hard to say if either one technically has cabin fever. The boys say no, but Carrie's unconvinced. She knows that every picture tells a story. After the break, Lucy the Moose busts more than a myth as she goes car surfing. Tori, Grant, and Carrie spent the past few days making something that, well, let's face it, we've all thought about but never got around to doing. Building a huge rubber moose called Lucy. Now they've arrived at a specialized test track for what should be a shattering debut.
Okay, so this myth is really about hitting the moose, because obviously if you can stop in time, that's going to be the best choice.
Right, this is the point of no return. You're gonna hit the moose. Now the question is it better to speed up or slow down?
All right, what do you think? Like 45 miles an hour? It's a good average between highway and regular roads?
That sounds good.
Crashing cars is more or less what the folks at E-Tech Testing Services do for a living. And parent company Energy Absorption Systems make crash cushions, which could be useful if this moose mayhem runs off the rails. But that's highly unlikely. A guide bar fitted to one wheel keeps the car on track. And through a system of chains and pulleys, a truck tows it from a safe distance in the opposite direction.
The reason why we came to E-Tech is because they are set up to test crashes. That's what they do. They have a towing system. It's a 2-to-1 ratio, so that their towing vehicle only has to go half as fast as the actual vehicle that's going to crash. Plus, they have a steering hub, and he's attaching that right now, so that way our car won't veer off course, and we hit the moose right where we want.
But crash test cars still need crash test dummies.
You know, I think this is the first time we've ever used Buster for what he was intended to be used for. It's a historic moment.
With Buster buckled up, we're ready for test number 1. Moose meets machine at 45 per.
Am I excited? You better believe I'm excited. We just made a giant rubber moose, and now we're going to crash cars into it. It doesn't get much better than this.
Here comes the car! That's 20 miles an hour. 40, 45. I mean, the car came careening at the moose, hit the moose flies in the air, head kind of just floats, falls to the ground. We got exactly the result we need, and a lot of comedy out of this high speed, I'm sure.
Will speeding up or slowing down reduce the carnage? And just how many cars can we afford to wreck in the cause of sensible driving?
Coming up next on MythBusters, can we apply enough explosives to sink this SUV to the bottom of this frozen lake? What do you think?